Great Bagha, written and read by Bill Lenihan. He'd waited for days, looking at the track. He saw more had been washed away. Soon there would be no track, only jungle, but it didn't matter. He knew he would come this way. After all, he always had. The monsoon rains had been increasing and the summers getting colder. Suddenly he shivered. Water droplets formed an arc as they were thrown from his body. He had reigned supreme, but he knew his days were over. No longer could he roam his land. He was too old, and as the rain came down, he stared into the jungle, but his eyes were unseeing. He was lost in thought as he reflected on what his life had been. None had dared to challenge him. He had walked amongst the village, and all ran before him. Was this not his land that he allowed them to live here? Did they not know this? They feared him, for he was almighty. This he knew. For him their fear was enough. He needed not show his power by the letting of their blood. But had he not also protected them? That no one dared enter his land? Had this not protected them? And so it had been for many years. But now these years were over. This he knew. He waited, his body shook. Already he felt the cold, and not yet winter. Suddenly he heard a noise. It was Piana. Stepping out onto the path, he saw the terror on his face, saw the whites of his eyes. "You frightened the life out of me, Bagha. I could have run you over," said Piana as he wiped Bagha with a towel. "I need to dry you before you wear the cape the women of the village have made for you." Bagha sat on his haunches, his head held high, majestic. "Right," said Piana. "Close your eyes while I pull the cape over your head." Carefully pulling back his ears through the opening, he gave them a rub. "Right, this will keep you dry, Bagha. I brought you food also." Looking into Bagha's eyes, Piana saw the spark he'd known was no longer there, and wrapping his arms around his neck, he hugged him. "You can no longer stay here, Bagha. The path, I fear it will be washed away, and I can no longer reach you. You must come to the village. Are you not deserving of it? You that have protected us when we were weak. But are we not now strong? Is it not us to pay our debt to you? The winter approaches, Bagha. You must come. We are prepared for you. You will be warm. We have food for you." Bagha turned and walked into the jungle. Piana watched him. His steps were slow. He was now old. He feared that the winter would be too much for him, that it would be his last. But he could do nothing. The great Bagha was proud. Only he could decide. Bagha ate the food Piana had brought him, but it did little to comfort him. The jungle was quiet. Yet he knew the macaque were there. Where once they would taunt him, knowing he could not reach them. Now they stayed silent. But he felt their eyes upon him. Did they also know that the once great hunter could hunt no more? Now he would welcome the screeching of the macaque as the silence closed in on him. He had always been alone. Was that not the way with tigers? So why now did he feel lonely? He knew should he stay, this would be his last winter, and that was the way it had always been. This was the way of things, but not the loneliness he now felt. This was not the way of things. Piana looked down the road that ran through the village. He watched as the first winter sun slowly started its descent below the horizon, casting its rays upon a village. His silhouette appeared as if coming from the sun itself. As it approached, it grew larger. He watched children leave the huts and approach. It was they that had felt the presence of Bagha. They came out onto the road, each eager to lay their hand upon the great Bagha and walk with him. It was they that had never known fear of Bagha. He had been their protector. As they drew closer, Piana saw their smiles on their faces. Soon all the village had gathered to welcome the great Bagha.